Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for April 26, 2020. So I did do a lot of reading this week, which I'm really happy about. Unfortunately, most of it was reread, which is fine. Just letting you know. So, just a quick update. All family is good on my end. I'm doing fine. Work is busy. I don't know why I have so many projects all of a sudden, except I think my managers are a little bored and coming up with things. And I'm like, I got plenty of work to do. I'm already in the middle of one project, a huge one that's going to take me at least another week or two, and they already come up with 2 other ones that they want me to do. And I'm like, so I'm not worried about work. Anyway, I'm very lucky that way, and I'm very thankful that I work in an industry that is still working at this time, and at least I can work from home for the most part. Again, I get to go in to work twice a week for 2 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I get out a little bit, but that's about it. Anyway, beyond that, I've been pretty much staying close to home. That's how it works. Anyway, so that's it. I don't have any. It's a very boring life right now. So I'm going to talk about the books that I read this week, the ones that I'm in the middle of, and what I'm going to do for the next week. So last week I was about halfway through, or I was partway through Primal Bonds by Jennifer Ashley. This is book 2 in the Shifter Unbound series. So I had decided to go back to this series and reread some of it. I read the first book, Pride Mates, before this, and so then I picked this one up. So this is book 2, and it's following Sean and Andrea. Sean is the guardian of the Shifter Town. Shifters have been outed about 20 years before, and they've been collected and put into these shifter towns in certain areas of the U.S. At least that's the ones we're seeing. And different shifters live in the same area, which is all the political dynamics of that, and instincts, and then also they have to deal with humans, or wary of them, and also try to keep them down. And so it's those kind of things too. This one has to do with the guardian, who is the one who keeps the sword, who is the one called when somebody has passed away, and he uses the sword to send the soul to the Summerland, which is kind of like heaven, or Valhalla kind of thing for the shifters. Is called Summerland. So he is seen as connected with death. So he's not really. No one really wants to what shifters mate to each other. So he volunteers to make claim a new arrival so that she can come to Shifter Town, their Shifter Town in Austin, Texas. And her name is Andrea, and of course there's sparks flying pretty soon after that. She is a half shifter, half fae, so there are fae in this one as well. The fae are the ones who created the shifters, so there's tensions for that, and then it's just, anyway. So it was a fun ride. I enjoyed it again. It's funny, this is not one of the ones I would think of as one of my favorites in the series. Like, I just didn't think about it that way, but really I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed getting back to that one. So I finished that one on Sunday, and then, hold on, I got the wrong one up. So then I read, on Sunday and Monday, I read Bodyguard, which is 2.5 in the Shifter series. This is actually the first book that I read of this series, and really, really enjoyed it. This is my favorite, I think, of the series. But again, it's bears. I mean, so is that does that, yeah. Anyway, so this one has to do with Ronan, who is a Kodiak bear. He is kind of like, he is one of the not the big guys, I don't know what to say. He's like one of the protectors of the Shifter Town. He works as a bouncer at the bar that they work. He also takes care of some other bears that kind of got thrown together because they're all kind of solitary. So he kind of has this like foster home of bears, and he is the head of that, of the oldest of them. At the beginning, he goes to this little store to buy a gift for one of the bears whose birthday's coming up, and like one of those little novelty store ones, and Elizabeth it's her shop, and she is held up at gunpoint, and he rescues her. And then it's kind of like the aftermath of having to deal with the human cops with a shifter involved, and as well as a gang that's who is part of this this one who held up the thing, and how everybody's what do you call it? My brain just went out. My cat is over there on my desk making, like, picking at things, and it's just trying to grieve me. Sorry, Cooper. Anyway, so they're like the gang is trying to intimidate her not to testify, and the shifters are trying to tell them to back off and get out of town because it's their town. And it's just, anyway, is it cute? Like, it's 170 pages, so it's a pretty good size novella. I really enjoyed this one, and I enjoyed revisiting it. It was great. And then I picked up book 3 in the Shifters Unbound. So this is Wildcat. So this actually moves to another location. We go to Las Vegas, and in this one we follow Cassidy, who is the second in command of the Las Vegas shifter town. Her brother Eric is in charge, but her mate died exactly a year before. So she's in she was I don't know, wait. So she's lost her mate. Now the other side of this is Diego, which is actually where it starts, where he gets a call. He's a police officer for the Las Vegas. He's human, and he gets this call that there's on this construction site, there's some trespassers. So he goes to help out, and he finds out they're on the 51st floor of this unfinished building, and he is scared of heights because he was held over a balcony by drug dealers a couple years before, and he and his partner were shot, and his partner did not survive. So he has trauma from all that, but he goes up there anyway, and he nearly falls off the building at one point because there's somebody shooting darts and has hit 2 other police officers who are down. So he like tranquilizer darts, and then he nearly falls. One of the 2 shadows he sees, one saves him, the other one disappears, but he arrests the shifter who saved him, and that's Cassidy. And then so because she saved him, he kind of helps her get out of jail for the trespassing, and then it's kind of their story because he has to go and check on her, and it's kind of put his career kind of on the line to kind of get involved with shifters, even though he's not part of the shifter police force, and the part of that. My cat is killing me over there. Anyway, talk about Wildcat. Anyway, I really enjoyed this. It really was one of those stories where I read about halfway and I thought, oh, okay, well, that should be the end of the story. And then I'm like, wait, we have like half the book. What's going on? And then it would do something else, and then it did something else again. So this was a book where I did not know, I could not remember where it was going, even though I've read this like a couple of times. So it was really good. Because again, I have not read, I don't know if I mentioned it, it's been at least 4 or 5 years since I read this series. I can't remember. It might be, it might be pretty far back. It might be even longer than that. I just, it's been a while since I've read most of them. So after I finished that, I think I finished, I had to print off my spreadsheet. I have no idea what day I did anything anymore. So I finished that Wednesday. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Of course, I never do anything. Anyway. So the next one I picked up is a 3.5 novella, which is Hard Mated. So this takes us back to the Austin shifter town, and this follows Spike, who is one of the trackers, the protectors, kind of like how Ronan was as well. He works for the leader, Liam, from Pride Mates. Anyway, so he, though, blows off a lot of steam because he figures, because there are so few female shifters, that he is not going to be able to mate claim or take a mate. So he blows off a lot of steam by joining the fight club that they have on Saturday nights. And he is like the top guy in the area, and maybe in the US. He is just, people come in to fight him, and he beats them anyway. So he is, I think he's more of a jaguar. I think so. I think some kind of wildcat, but kind of more on the jaguar side. Anyway, so so we start with a fight, which is great. It's great action. Her action's always really good in her books as well. And this woman comes up to him at the end, and he's kind of thinking she's like a groupie, like a shifter groupie. And she, hands him bottle of water, and he takes it and drinks it, and then she's like, well, I know you don't know who I am, but my friend Jillian, you had a one-night stand with her 5 years ago. And he's like, and it took him a while. She explained a little bit, and she's like, okay, yeah, I know who she was. And because he wasn't like, she was memorable. Anyway, the point is, then she says, well, I want you to come with me, she's dying. And so he goes with her, and he doesn't really know why, but he's kind of intrigued, but he's also like, I don't know what's going on. So they go to the hospital where she is dying of cancer, and she informs him on her deathbed, which is horrible, but she tells him that, well, I had your child, and he's like now 4 years old, and his name is Jordan. And so Jordan comes, and he's this cute little boy, and he shifts for him right there into, I'm pretty sure it's leopard or jaguar, I can't remember, but my brain, there's just too many shifters in my books right now. And he has the right markings that he's definitely Spike, who is, did I say the main character's name is Spike? Well, he goes by Spike. Anyway, and so he is asked to take the child because it's a shifter. Not, and just so, because he knows how to, or is supposed to know how to deal with him. Anyway, so that starts it. So he's now suddenly a father with a 4-year-old, doesn't have a clue what to do. He only has his grandmother left in his clan, so that they're kind of really tight-knit, but they're also not prepared for a 4-year-old. So Micah, the woman who had brought him from the fight to the hospital, the best friend of Jillian, comes to check on him the next day, and of course Jordan's it's all over the place. So he's really cute. It's a cute story. I like this one because it's a finding out you're a father and then having to deal with that, and then and also learning, and also it was kind of talking about how some of the politics within the shifter town, and how much he was holding back, and how much really he was a lot bigger of a power than anybody wanted to admit to. And then now with his kid, everything changes kind of thing, and priorities. I just like this. Anyway, it was a good one. So I did finish that one too. But I finished that and I went, okay, I'm done for a while. So I'd read like 9 days worth of them, and 3 books and a couple novellas, and I'm just like, okay, I need a break. So I don't know how I'm going to continue. I still have, I think, 2 more books and 3 novellas to read to catch up to even where I stopped. And so I got quite a ways. Anyway, so we'll see what happens on that. So that was, I think I finished that on Thursday. Yeah, so I finished that on Thursday. So Friday I didn't really pick a whole lot up. So I do want to talk about now the books that I did finish a book yesterday. So we'll get to that. So I didn't really pick up a whole lot until Saturday was Dewey's 24 hour. I didn't really participate fully. Like, I signed up and everything, but I only did about 9.5 hours. But I didn't read all that. I did a lot of the reading while the TV was on, so I didn't read quite as much. But I did finish A Journal of the Plague Year by Daniel Defoe. So I'm so glad I finally finished this book. I am ecstatic that this book took me about a month. But it was so fascinating, and I cannot recommend this enough if you are able to read something during this time about a plague. So this is about the 1665 plague in London, and it is written like almost 60 years later by Defoe, but he puts all this evidence in of stuff he knows, and from actual death counts and stuff that were recorded at the time. And he talks about things. He was too young at the time. He was not there. I think from what the introduction said, his family did leave when it happened, but I guess one of his uncles stayed, so he might have gotten information from his uncle or heard stories, but he gathered a lot of information. I mean, it's a really good account of what happened, but it's told fictionally in, like, this is the journal of somebody else. And so I kind of think, they think kind of at the end that it might be supposed to be from his, like, he took on the persona of his uncle that stayed, but we're not, not super sure, but that's kind of what it looks like. So this author, HF, tells us the whole, from the beginning of that year to the end of the year of how the plague went. It was really fascinating because he brings up the fact that the Great Fire was the year after, and how things, you know, how things had changed that first year, and then the next year, then it was the fire. So, and how some of that, so that was kind of interesting. It makes me want to read something on the Great London Fire as well. So, well, I'll get to that too. But this was interesting to watch as the plague moves from, I think, the west side to town to the east side, and how as soon as it started, all the court left, and then how the people who had money, who had country estates and things, and could afford to leave, left, and then who was left, and then who didn't leave, and then what happened with those. How about all the ships that were in the harbor that were stuck, and then all the commerce to any other country stopped. And it was so fascinating. I mean, overall, this book is really, even though it's 1665, again, published in 1722, but the point is that there are so many parallels. It was just fascinating. I mean, I really wish I tabbed it up to mark every time it was something that I had heard on the news, here, now. And it was just, I should have done that, and I kind of wish I could go back. I just don't know if I can go back to this book now after I finished it, because I finished it. But there are instances where this talks about people's reaction with religion and with the government and the way that they handled things. And then the frontline people who were the doctors and the nurses who stayed, and the government officials who went and checked on people, the guards who, yeah, well, kind of made people stay in their homes once they were infected, kind of locked them in. And then the people who ran, who could not stay inside, and who left and exposed other people and out into the country. And there also, it was really fascinating near the end, it talks about where there was a lull and people came back, and how it rejuvenated a little bit because it was too soon and people started infecting other people again. And it was just like so relevant in a lot of ways. Again, this was a hard read due to the fact that it's written from 1722, and it's very, the punctuation is all completely off. There are no chapter breaks. It is just written, I mean, it's pretty dense in that way, but I found it super fascinating. I could only read this probably about 10 pages to my highest 2 days. I think I got close to 40, but every other time it was like 10 to 20 was at the most. And then I'd have to put it down for days. Like, I couldn't do it that often. So I'm so glad I got it done. I'm so glad I read this. Again, I'm not saying that this is the time to read this book. I still think it's fascinating to hear about how the plague, how he documented this plague, I mean, years later. I mean, you get that, but it's just so relevant to things that I've heard now on the news or seen and are going through. And I was really impressed, and I'm so glad I read that, and I'm so glad it's done. So that was my big accomplishment of the week, is to finish that book. And again, it is an 18th century literature book, so it does count towards the 18th century readathon that Erin WithTheClassics is putting on. So I got 2 books. The only 2 books that I finished this month so far that are not rereads are both for 18th century. That's hilarious. Anyway, so I did want to mention, we're going into now the books that I'm in the middle of. I am still listening to Benjamin Franklin by Walter Isaacson, narrated by Nelson Rudger. I am 335 pages in, so it's just about 500 pages, so I got about 165 pages left. I don't remember how many hours. It's got to be like 9 or 10 hours left. I'm really enjoying this. What I like about biographies like this is that, you know, we have these perceptions of Benjamin Franklin and Washington and Jefferson and all this stuff, and this makes them just so human. And so you're just like, wow, you guys were not perfect people. And it just makes you feel good to know that. I mean, I knew that, you know, because I've read Washington and Adams already, and John Adams. And it's just interesting to see it from Franklin's side of it, because again, he's so iconic in a lot of things, but there were things that, you know, not such a good guy, especially with his own family. I finding that the most interesting. I mean, I knew he had issues with the son over being a royalist and not and him being a rebel, but there was a lot of other stuff. It was really interesting, and it has been. So right now I just got to the part where he is now gone to France as an ambassador. So that is just starting. And actually I stopped right in the middle of the part where we were talking about Bancroft, who is the spy. So which was found out much, much later that he was. So anyway, I'm really enjoying that. And again, I only listen to it in the car, really. Except I found that there's one part of my job where I do a lot of paperwork, like, and I have to do just numbers, like typing, entering in and, what do you call it? Filing. And so, when I do that, I can listen to Benjamin Franklin. The rest of my work day just doesn't work out. It's just not enough. I can't concentrate on it. So I'm getting a little bit more listening during the week, but I don't think I'm going to finish it by the end of the month. I still think I'm too far away from that to happen, unless I just burn through it. So we'll see. I might be done by Friday. Is it the first of Friday? I can't remember now, because I'll do that. So we'll see. We'll see. So here we go. I participated in Dewey's 24-hour readathon yesterday. As I said, I finished a journal of the plague year. That was my first thing to finish. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to attack this and decide on this. I still can't decide. So I read another 45 pages of this. I'm at page 88. I don't know, guys. This is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. And this is about Hell's Library and all the unwritten books there. And one of them escapes, and the librarian, Claire, goes with her assistant and odd demon who was sent to tell her that one had escaped. And they go to Seattle and figure out what's going on. That's very part, and they retrieve the book. And it all kind of went badly for them. And then there's also another plot line of a soul comes to heaven, and the fallen angel who is kind of in charge of people coming in, Ramel, he finds this soul who has this little piece of paper, and it is discovered that is part of the devil's Bible. And so now he's looking for pages from it, or the book. He thinks the Library of the Unwritten has it, or the librarian has it. And she's now trying to figure out what's going on, because he confronted her, blah, 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 and then they're going to go off on an adventure. Now, the problem is, that sounds good. And it is well written. That's not my problem either. It was funny in some places. That's not my problem either. And their chapters are not super long, so it reads pretty quickly. But I am 88 pages in, and I hesitate to read more. I just feel like it's going to be a 3. I don't feel like this is going to achieve a 4, which to me, a 4 is a book that I would be willing to reread. Again, a 5 is beyond a doubt to reread, right? You know what I mean? Like, a 3 to me is a good book, but nothing I'm going to revisit. And so far, nothing I would revisit. So I don't know what to do about this one. It is a library book, so I do have it for quite a while yet before they reopen the libraries. I could give it one more shot, but I'm already 88 pages in, and I'm just like, eh. So does anybody rate this book? Let me know. Did you enjoy it? I mean, it sounds like it should be a book that's up my alley, but it's not grabbing me. So I'm not quite sure on this one. So you guys will have to let me know. So I picked up another reread because I was doing Dewey's 24 hours, and I decided to pick up a Neil Hastings book that I've been thinking about. So I picked up Visions of Heat, which is book 2 in the Side Changeling series. Again, the Side Changeling series is a urban fantasy paranormal romance that deals with humans, psychics, and shifters. This one primarily on psychics and the Psi and the changelings. So this one it had characters that were in book 12 that I recently reread, Heart of Obsidian, and it made me think about the couple that was in there. So I went back to revisit this book. That's how that works. So this one follows Faith, who is a Foreseer. She's the Psi. She is protected due to the fact that she makes billions from business forecasting. And she's also called an F-Psi, so that's where they are very there's low amounts of them at all, and then they don't usually survive much past their 50s. So she's already feeling like, and there's something going on. She's having her visions, something's happening. Like she's having a dark vision and she's not understanding what's going on. She escapes out because she wants to go talk to Sasha, who is a Psy who in the first book, happens in the first book, Enslaved to Sensation, which I would say read that one first. So she wants to go visit her to ask her questions. She runs into Vaughn, who has been watching this building, wondering who is there and what's going on. And and again, so he's a Jaguar shifter, and he is one of the sentinels of the Dark River clan. So it's Vaughn and Faith's story, and of course it has to do with visions and changelings, and there's a lot of other stuff, but you know what I mean. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite series. So I'm just enjoying the reread. I got just over halfway last night. I would like to have said I could have read this all in one day, but I was distracted. It was a really nice day, so it was really nice outside in the afternoon, but I didn't go out anyway, except we barbecued at lunch, my brother and I. Anyway, so okay, so I'm reading that, so I'll probably finish that today, but we'll see what happens. And then I have these two other books that I'm in the middle of that I don't know what to do with. This one I don't know what to do with. So this is The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. So this is translated from the German by Michael Hulse. And I'm hoping to read more German books. It's my next one to read, but I am not enjoying it. I read 20 pages and I have 90 pages more and I'm dreading it. So I don't know. I'm either going to try to read, 17 to 25 pages in the next couple days every day to try to get to the end of the month, but I don't know. Has anybody read this? I hear it's good. It's just they're tragic, and I don't know. I don't actually know. I picked this up at a library book sale back in February, so I do want to read it. But it's also one of those books I might just put back on my shelf and just maybe try again later in the year. I don't know, or maybe not this year. I don't know. And then I am continuing my reading of Showa, 1953 to 1989, A History of Japan by Shigeru Mizuki, translated by Zach Davidson. So this manga is, again, over 500 pages. I'm about 175 in, so I'm making progress. I'm in the 60s. I think about the Vietnam War, or yeah, I think so, that's about to start. Anyway, so I'm hoping to finish this up, here pretty soon. I mean, I'm just picking it up every once in a while when I feel like it. But really, I don't have any idea what I'm going to read after I finish Visions of Heat. I have no idea. What do you guys think about the library they have written, or the Sorrows of Young Werther? Should I continue with those or just put them aside? I might pick up another reread. I don't know. I might actually try to pick up another library book. I don't know. And I might pick up something else that I have on my shelf that I own that I want to read. I don't know. I don't know what I feel like, and I have not a clue. So I can't even guess. I have this whole May TBR that I was going to do, and now I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if I'm going to read. Like, I might just put 2 books on my TBR and just say, I might read other stuff. I don't know. It's like if I could get out of the rereading and actually finish more than 2 books in a month that are new to me, it would be nice. I mean, I'm really enjoying my rereading. It's very comforting. I really enjoy it. It makes me want to read. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So anyway, you guys will have to let me know how your guys' reading is doing. I mean, I did a lot of pages this week, but again, almost all of that was rereading. Very little of it was new, but oh well. I'm enjoying it. So anyway, let me know how you guys are doing. I hope you guys are staying safe and you're, staying at home most of the time. I think that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.